Stablecoins. They are a crypto investor's saving grace in a bear market. They allow people to save their portfolios from crashing when the bull market ends. Yet with 2022, we saw the full-on collapse of one of the world's largest stablecoins, which had a market cap of nearly $19 billion. UST and its collapse is bringing on big changes, including a United States CBDC stablecoin. When will this happen, and what does it mean for cryptocurrency? Find out in just over 10 minutes, because it's time for Chico Crypto. Yup, at its peak, Terra UST was the world's third largest stablecoin, and the algorithmic stablecoin was powered by the protocol staking and mining token Luna, which at its peak was the world's seventh largest crypto. Before the big crash of UST and Luna, there was nearly $50 billion of value, which was almost completely wiped out, gone in the blink of an eye, which has caused regulators across the globe to start looking into stable coins and what they mean for this world. The U.S.'s largest banking regulator, the acting comptroller of the currency, Michael Zhu, spoke on the collapse earlier this month. Let's hear what he had to say now.
So I think the Terra Luna collapse has revealed a number of things, but I really want to focus on three. The first is stablecoins are not stable. Clearly, to have an $18 billion stablecoin crash so quickly, I think showed that. Second, a lot of the growth in crypto is driven by hype. Part of the reason that Terra was able to grow so quickly, it was hyped, and there were some very attractive yields that were not sustainable put onto it. And third, contagion risk is real. You saw the sell-off lead to both a broader sell-off in the cryptocurrency market generally. I think $500 billion of value was lost in a relatively short period of time. And you saw some pressure on another stable coin, Tether, which is not algorithmic. And Tether briefly depegged. And so I think I think some of these lessons just kind of reveal some fragilities in that space that everyone needs to be really careful about.
Stablecoins are not stable. So what are the feds going to do about it? Well, they are here to protect.
That's very important to protect investors if you're investing in this space, to understand these things. And that's very important to me and to us in the regulatory community, is protecting people. This is big enough now where this is an important thing that we have to pay attention to.
How exactly? Well, with stablecoin regulation, of course.
So there are a lot of discussions taking place right now amongst the regulatory community, me and my peers. As you know, the FSOC has identified kind of the crypto world as something that the Financial Stability Oversight Council, of which I'm a member, and others are paying attention to. The White House put out an executive order, which requires some reports about what's going on out there, what are the risks, how are we going to approach that. In the meantime, there's a lot of coordination amongst the agencies on particular areas where we can focus, and stablecoins has been one of them.
So what is going to happen, and when is this regulation coming? Well, here's what I find interesting, reading in between the lines like I always do. Here we can see the collapse of UST happened in early May of this year, the 9th to be exact. What happened just 1 month before this? A top US lawmaker proposed a sweeping stablecoin regulation framework called the Stablecoin Trust Act. This came from the Senate Banking Committee, and the bill would define a payment stablecoin, authorize the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency to create a new license specific to stablecoin issuers, allow insured depository banks to issue payment stablecoins, and address state regulatory oversight of this segment of the crypto industry. This basically means removing all the power of stablecoins from the crypto industry and transferring it to the banks and the OCC, of which Michael Zhu heads. So when could something like this be coming? Well, the article says, Toomey, whose term ends at the end of the year, has announced he will not seek re-election, meaning he has roughly 8 months to chart a path forward for the proposal if it is not passed by Congress by 2023. If this bill is to succeed, it would need to be passed by the beginning of 2023, in just 6 months. Now on June 17th, Federal Reserve Chairman, homeboy Jerome Powell, had remarks about a US CBDC stablecoin. Let's hear what he had to say about this.
Looking forward, rapid changes are taking place in the global monetary system that may affect the international role of the dollar in the future. Most major economies already have or are in the process of developing instant 24/7 payments. Our own FedNow service will be coming online in 2023. And in light of the tremendous growth in crypto assets and stablecoins, we are examining whether a U.S. central bank digital currency would improve upon what is an already safe and efficient domestic payment system. As our white paper on this topic notes, a U.S. CBDC could also potentially help maintain the dollar's international standing.
The U.S. Fed and government is actively considering issuing their own U.S. dollar CBDC, which of course would be a stablecoin pegged to the dollar, which they even have a white paper for, released at the beginning of this year. The paper is very interesting, including outlining the plans. It says, to address the risks of payment stablecoins, the President's Working Group report recommends that Congress act promptly to enact legislation that would ensure payment stablecoins and payment stablecoin arrangements are subject to a consistent and comprehensive federal regulatory framework. Now remember, this was released in January of this year. By April, we had a draft bill. The Stablecoin Trust Act emerges. The white paper then says this. It is important, however, to consider the implications of a potential future state in which many foreign countries and currency unions may have introduced CBDCs. Some have suggested that if these new CBDCs were more attractive than existing forms of the US dollar, global use of the dollar could decrease, and a US CBDC might help preserve the international role of the dollar. They are looking to preserve the US dollar's dominance through a CBDC, as other nation states are planning on launching their own, with one already in production from the United States' biggest adversary, China, who is setting the international standard for a CBDC with ECNY. So, is the US just going to let China dominate the future of payments? No, 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 my friends. They are already designing their CBDC and stablecoin. Just 1 month after the white paper from the Fed, in February, a multi-year research project was announced, codenamed Project Hamilton. The announcement says, Project Hamilton is a multi-year collaborative research project between the MIT Digital Currency Initiative and the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston. The goal of Project Hamilton is to investigate the technical feasibility of a general-purpose CBDC that could support a payment economy at the scale of the United States. Now, the US has already been showing off what Hamilton can do compared with China's ECNY. This graph shows on the lower range, Hamilton can do 170,000 transactions per second and 1.7 million on the upper range, while ECNY can do just 10,000 lower range and 300,000 at its max. So my friends, a US stablecoin and CBDC is researched and it's planned. It is coming and it could be making its first appearance in 2023. What does this mean for other stablecoins? Well, not good for most in my opinion. As we know, Tether USDT is in regulators' crosshairs and has been for years. They want fully audited, fully backed stables, and Tether doesn't meet those requirements. Also, the US government could announce a ban on algorithmic stablecoins, as Terra Luna was algorithmic. Now, there are good algo stablecoins out there who have held their peg and stood the test of time, like Dai, but that does not matter to regulators. One bad apple could ruin it for them all. But there is one stablecoin that could survive this all, and that is USDC. USDC has been infiltrating the traditional financial system for some time. In March of last year, Visa became the first major payments network to settle transactions in the stablecoin. Also, USDC issuer Circle is getting close with federal officials. Washington Post dropped this article in February. As the Fed considers minting the first digital dollar, it is tapping experts from a crypto company with a stake in the outcome. This includes Circle founder Jeremy Allaire, and the article covers Project Hamilton from the Boston Fed. They say the Boston Fed continues to build a team with leading technology experts from multiple organizations, one of which is Boston-based Circle. A handful of former Circle execs have played key roles in the effort, according to the Tech Transparency Project report, which cites public statements by the Boston Fed and publicly available LinkedIn profiles. Robert Bench, formerly Circle's chief compliance officer and associate general counsel, has led the Boston Fed's team since joining the bank in 2019. Kevin Karwoski spent 5 years at Circle, most recently as manager of trading infrastructure, joined the bank a year ago as principal architect on the digital dollar project. Anders Braunworth held the title Chief Evangelist at Circle and worked 5 years there as a senior software engineer before joining the project at the Boston Fed in the spring of 2020. Tyler Frederick, a compliance manager for Circle, spent 2 years at the bank. A fifth Circle alum, John D. Thomas, who worked in compliance for the company, joined the Boston Fed in the spring of 2021, although it is not clear whether he is working on the digital dollar effort. 5 high-level Circle employees who helped create USDC are now part of the Boston Fed, with 4 out of 5 confirmed to be working on Project Hamilton. I would say Circle's USDC is in a pretty solid position in terms of not being banned or outlawed. Although this isn't all peaches and roses for USDC. Because of how close they are getting with regulators, it's possible USDC forces KYC on its users, and if they don't comply, they could end up freezing their stablecoin asset. So my friends, regulation is coming for stablecoins, but also the US is launching their own, a CBDC. Stablecoins are supposed to be a place for safety, but it's about to become a minefield. Choose wisely. Cheers, viewers. I'll see you next time.